Beneath the Utah desert lies a cave system so deceptive, even seasoned explorers feared its narrow passages. Nutty Putty Cave wasn't a place of beauty, it was a trap. In November 2009, one man ventured inside, searching for adventure with friends and family. His name was John Edward Jones. What happened next would trigger the largest cave rescue attempt in Utah's history and end in a way no one could have imagined. This is the story of a life full of promise and a descent into the earth that would become his tomb. John Edward Jones was born on January 21st, 1983, in St. George, Utah. Growing up in the red deserts and canyons of southern Utah, John's childhood was marked by family, faith, and adventure. He was the oldest of several siblings in a close-knit home where exploration of the outdoors was part of everyday life. Friends and family described him as bright, determined, and compassionate. He carried a calm but adventurous spirit, shaped by his experiences exploring the natural landscapes around him. Faith played an equally important role. John was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where service, family, and community were central to his life. Education was a path he pursued with dedication. After high school, John enrolled at Brigham Young University. He worked toward a demanding career in medicine, studying to become a pediatric cardiologist. It was a future that promised years of healing children and supporting families through some of their most difficult times. By 2009, John was not only a student, but also a husband and father. He had married Emily, the love of his life, and together they were raising a young daughter who was just over a year old. Emily was also pregnant with their second child. Family and future were the foundations of John's life. He was not reckless nor careless. He was responsible, thoughtful, and experienced. But exploration was in his nature, and that part of him would lead him into Nutty Putty Cave in November 2009. Nutty Putty Cave is located west of Utah Lake, roughly 55 miles from Salt Lake City. To an untrained eye, its entrance looks unremarkable, a small opening in the hillside, framed by clay and stone. But for decades, it had been known as one of Utah's most deceptive and dangerous cave systems. Discovered in 1960 by Dale Green, Nutty Putty quickly developed a reputation among local spelunkers. Unlike spacious caverns where explorers could walk upright, Nutty Putty was formed of twisting hydrothermal passages lined with soft clay. Its tunnels narrowed sharply, forcing cavers to crawl, contort, and squeeze through chambers that seemed to grow tighter with every move. The cave's sections carried ominous names given by those who barely escaped them: the Scout Trap, the Big Slide, and most infamous of all, the Birth Canal. These names were not exaggerations. They reflected real dangers. In the early 2000s, multiple cavers became trapped inside Nutty Putty. Rescues were difficult, slow, and dangerous. In 2004, after two major rescues within the same week, officials closed the cave entirely. But by 2009, the site was reopened under restricted access. Warning signs were posted near the entrance, emphasizing that this was no place for casual exploration. Still, Nutty Putty's allure remained. For seasoned cavers, it was a test of courage. For the unprepared, it was a trap. The Birth Canal in particular was notorious. The passage angled downward and appeared navigable. But once inside, explorers found themselves pressed against stone with barely enough room to breathe. Many described it as one of the most terrifying squeezes in any cave in Utah. John Edward Jones entered Nutty Putty with that history behind it. And when he mistook an uncharted passage for the Birth Canal, he unknowingly stepped into the deadliest mistake of his life. It was Tuesday, November 24th, 2009, the week of Thanksgiving. John Edward Jones and several family members, including his younger brother Josh, planned an outing to Nutty Putty Cave. For John, the trip was more than adventure. It was tradition. Exploring with family brought excitement and bonding, and Nutty Putty was a place he had visited before. The group entered the cave in the evening. Armed with headlamps, they crawled through narrow passages, their voices echoing in the silence. The air was cool and damp, the walls closing in as the tunnels grew tighter. To most, it was uncomfortable. To John, It was a challenge. At some point in the exploration, John decided to test what he believed was the birth canal. The passage angled downward, narrow but seemingly manageable. He had faced similar squeezes before. Without hesitation, he slid forward headfirst, his body angled into the chute. But this was not the birth canal. It was an uncharted passage, steeper and tighter than any mapped section. As John wriggled deeper, the walls pressed harder against him. Gravity pulled his body downward, pinning his arms to his sides. When he tried to back out, he found no leverage. He could not move forward, and he could not retreat. By the time he realized the mistake, it was too late. John was trapped upside down, 400 feet from the entrance, nearly 150 feet below the surface. His head was angled downward, his legs upward. The space measured barely 10 inches by 18 inches, just enough to hold him fast. The adventure had turned into a nightmare. John's brother Josh was the first to find him wedged in the stone. He tried desperately to pull his brother back, but the angle and pressure were impossible to overcome. Josh scrambled out of the tunnel and raised the alarm. By 9 p.m., emergency services had been called. What followed became one of the largest and most complex cave rescues in U.S. history. More than 100 rescuers rotated in shifts, firefighters, paramedics, and trained cave specialists working through the night. Each one had to crawl headfirst down the narrow shaft to reach John, lying flat on their stomachs, barely able to move, working by flashlight in suffocating silence. The first priority was communication. Rescuers spoke with John, who remained calm despite his dire position. They offered reassurance, monitored his condition, and attempted to maneuver his body free. Oxygen and fluids were passed down the line. A pulley system was designed to extract him. Anchors were drilled into the rock, and ropes were attached to straps placed around his legs. Slowly, inch by inch, they began pulling him upward. For a moment, hope surged. He was moving. Progress was being made. But then, disaster struck. The anchors tore free from the clay walls, the pulley snapped loose, and John slid back into the hole, deeper than before. His cry of pain echoed through the tunnel, crushing the spirits of rescuers. Still, they did not give up. Hour after hour, new strategies were attempted. Drilling into stone, repositioning ropes, trying different angles. Each attempt was met with the same impossible resistance. The narrow passage, John's inverted position, and the pressure of stone combined into an unbreakable trap. Through it all, John fought. He stayed conscious, spoke with rescuers, and endured as they battled the cave itself. But time was against him. By the second day, John had been trapped upside down for nearly 24 hours. The human body cannot withstand such a position for long. Blood pooled in his head, causing pressure in his eyes and brain. His lungs, compressed by the weight of his organs, struggled to draw air. His circulation faltered. Rescuers pressed on, but every attempt failed. Another pulley system was built, but again the rock gave way, sending him sliding back. The tunnel itself was unyielding, every inch of clay and stone resisting human intervention. Despite his suffering, John remained composed. He spoke softly to rescuers, offering them gratitude. His wife Emily was brought near the site. She could not see him, but her words were relayed through the passage. John responded faintly, sharing brief moments of comfort in the midst of despair. But his strength was fading. His breathing slowed. His voice grew weak. He drifted in and out of consciousness. Medics monitored what they could, but deep underground, the options were limited. In the early hours of November 25th, John's body could no longer endure. After more than 27 hours trapped upside down, he lost consciousness and went still. He was pronounced dead shortly afterward, the official cause cardiac arrest brought on by trauma and positional asphyxia. Above ground, word spread quickly. Family, rescuers, and community members grieved as the reality sank in. Despite the courage, persistence, and sheer manpower devoted to saving him, Nutty Putty Cave had claimed another life. The rescue was over, but the questions remained. What to do with John's body, and with the cave itself? Recovery was deemed impossible. The narrow shaft, unstable rock, and inverted position made removal too dangerous for rescuers. The risk of more lives lost was too high. The decision was made: John would remain where he had died. Within weeks, authorities acted. In December 2009, Nutty Putty Cave was permanently sealed. Concrete and boulders were placed over the entrance, closing it forever. The cave became both a tomb and a memorial. The closure sparked mixed reactions. To some, it was the right choice. Nutty Putty had trapped too many, and John's death was the ultimate warning. To others, it was a painful reminder that a young man's remains were still inside. But the decision was final. The cave would never again claim another life. News of the tragedy spread worldwide. People were horrified by the details: the narrow tunnel, the inverted position, the long fight for survival. John's story became one of the most well-known caving tragedies in history. For his family, the grief was immeasurable. Emily was left to raise their children without him. His parents and siblings remembered not his death, but the life he had lived: faithful, kind, and devoted. Nutty Putty Cave is now silent, sealed beneath layers of stone. But its story continues to echo, a permanent reminder of the dangers hidden beneath the earth. John Edward Jones remains sealed forever inside Nutty Putty Cave, his body entombed in stone just feet from the passage that claimed him. The cave itself has been closed, never to be entered again, yet the story continues to haunt anyone who's heard it. It's a stark reminder that beneath our feet lie places indifferent to human life, places that don't forgive mistakes. And this is just one story. There are countless more caves, countless more tragedies waiting in the dark. Subscribe, share, and join us as we uncover them, one descent at a time.